Yes. Welcome to another episode of Ro Lamb Live. I am your host. My name is Ro Lamb. I am a writer and a storyteller from Atlanta, Georgia. And today I am joined by Liz. Is it Bullard or Bullard? How do you say it, Liz?
Bullard, I've heard it both ways. I don't know which is technically right, but just Bullard.
Bullard. Okay. Yeah. I meant to ask before we hit the button and I forgot. Maybe that was the one thing right before I hit the button. I'm like, I'm forgetting something. Maybe that's what I forgot. But yes, it's good to have Liz Bullard here. She's a novelist. She's a creative wellness coach. And today we're going to be talking about her books. We're going to be talking about her creative wellness coaching business. We're going to talk about all of that. But before we do that, well, first, let me say this. If you're tuning in right now, you're watching, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you want to support the show, there's some links down in the bottom. There's a Patreon down there. There's a Substack. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link. There's a bunch of things down there. So if you want to support, hit any one of those links, and I would truly, truly appreciate it. And so now, before we get to the meat of the interview, the meat of the conversation, I want to start with the question that I love to ask. And that first question is, Liz, what is inspiring you right now? What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? What's getting the creativity going for you right now?
Wow, that's a great question. It's so much better than how are you? Yeah, you know what? Um, I'm bouncing between a couple books, but what first came to mind is I've been listening to this podcast by Kev on Stage, who is a comedian and entrepreneur. He's talking with other creatives about their failures. I forget what the exact name of it is, but it's on YouTube and it's been inspiring me because no matter what level you are, you still have failures. You know, they all had humble beginnings. It wasn't this overnight success. It takes time. And so it's really been inspiring me to just keep creating, keep going, not letting the small stuff, get me stuck.
Yes, that is that's such a huge thing. Like when you talk about like not letting the small stuff get you stuck, because it's so easy for the small stuff to, depending what it is, depending how your makeup is, right? You're like,
Hmm.
it could be that thing that you just sort of get fixated on, you know what I mean? And it's interesting too, because last week I had a conversation with an artist, and we were talking about this idea of like failure and the idea of, not being afraid to fail and that being a part of, the process. You know what I'm saying? So
1000%.
that is a great podcast from Kev on Stage. I haven't listened to like a lot of it, but I just always think it's great when you have people that we think of as successful talk about like, well, this is how it didn't always work out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, because like, you just see the monolith of this person, and you're like, "Oh, it must have been so easy," and it's like, "Oh, wait, you had a similar failure or a similar thought." Like, it's like, "Oh, I can get there too."
Right. Exactly. So for me, I actually made a post today on my Substack, what's inspiring me. And one of the things that I put on here was Founder, which is I think they're like a magazine, or they're like an entrepreneurial magazine,
Ooh.
but they put up a post. I don't know when they put this up, but the first carousel says too many choices. And it basically goes through and it talks about how like when you have too many options, you can get paralyzed.
Mhm.
So definitely check out my Substack, and definitely, check out that post, because I think for me, that's one of the things I think about a lot with my creativity is, there's so many, like right now, even on my walls, I have 3 or 4 different stories that are outlined on the wall right now. Like, and so it's like, sometimes you give yourself too many options, too many, choices. It's like, well, I could do this, or I could do that, I could do this. And you find yourself stuck, right? You find yourself paralyzed.
1000%. Like, decision fatigue is so common amongst creatives and founders and entrepreneurs because, like, you're always thinking and making choices. And even though they're exciting, and there could be little choices, that's taxing on the brain. And so, like, yeah, like if you're just like in that paralyzed state, give yourself less options or just time not to think. But like, that's so real.
Right. Um, so yes, that was great. Thank you for sharing that, Liz. So now I think I just want to get into I guess your origin story, right? How do you describe yourself, and how did you get to the place that you are now?
Oh, I love that. So, I think how would I would describe myself as like in progress, right? So I will give you the
Mm,
overview, right? So the Instagram worthy is just, therapist, author, and creative wellness coach. But that all started, I would say, during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, I was working at community mental health as a therapist. And I remember chatting with a friend and we were talking about self-care, and she asked this question: is your current self-care routine enough? Matter of fact, I had her on a podcast I was doing at the time, and that question came up. And it made me think, and I said, it's not, right? I was going to work, it was during the pandemic, dealing with all of that, and I was doing some little stuff for my self-care, but nothing that I could truly say was restorative. So when she said, a friend, group of us are getting together, we're not writers, but we're going to do some writing prompts to build connection. So I said, I'm going to commit to doing this every morning. So like during the pandemic, every morning I would get up 8 o'clock and I would write with these folks before I would go to work. And that was a snowball into so many things, right? Not just writing, but my entrepreneurship journey. From there, I kept challenging, those imposter syndrome feelings and all of those things that come with the creative process. And in hindsight, I think that helped me go into entrepreneurship as early as I did. I wanted to leave my job. I wanted to start my private practice. And, I did that about, it'll be 4 years in August. And I
Flex on them,
think,
flex on them.
thank you. And I think that creative journey, I think that challenging those things really helped to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, yeah. So
The
you were a
therapist.
therapist
Mhm.
before you were a writer.
If you would have told me that I would have been an author, I would have said, "You're joking. I could never do that." I never saw that as
Wow.
something. Yeah, I've always been a reader, always been a reader. And the one time I tried to write, I was a kid and I was writing about a unicorn and chili dogs, the things I loved as a kid. And that was it. I was maybe 8 years old, but never wrote until the pandemic.
That is mind-boggling to me. Um, so it, I mean, I have a list of questions here, but now I have questions about this, and
Yes.
I'm just trying to think what was that like to. So for myself, I grew up writing. Like I've
Mhm.
always loved to write, and so I don't even know if I've ever had a conversation with somebody who was a writer, and they said, I just found this, 5 years ago. What was it like finding that? I mean, do you have a love for writing?
Yes. You know what? I didn't think it was accessible for me. And like when we talk about being
Mm,
able to see yourself, it is important. I love to read, and I thought like passing thought of being an author, but never anything viable. Like I went to a creative arts high school and I wanted to be a film editor, but like that was as close to storytelling as I thought was possible for me. But then during
wow.
the pandemic and learning about Kindle Vella and doing all these different things, I was like, "Oh, I can do this." But I thought you had to go to
Mm,
school to be an author. I thought you had
yeah.
to have this other path. So, I think had I known that, maybe I would have found it sooner.
That is so interesting. It's leaving me a little speechless. Like I just have so many questions and thoughts. So I think one of the things that I'm thinking about is what was your learning curve like? What was
Um,
the like? Did you feel like you picked up on it really quickly, or what was that process like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what allowed me to keep showing up is it started out as self-care. And then again, we were a group of people like
Yes.
we're not writers, we're just doing this, and we were just doing challenges together, right? The pressure wasn't there until, NaNoWriMo. Was working on, um actually, no, it wasn't New Moon, it was Portal. So, Portal is the second book in the series, and I remember seeing Tabitha's the main character in the series, and I remember, the prompt was Leo, New Moon, Portal, and I
Mm,
remember as soon as we had that prompt, we had 10 minutes. And I remember seeing this woman with curly hair. There's a portal where whipping, and you have this man standing and saying, "You have 3 minutes to cross over with me to save my people or they're lost." And that
Wow.
was as far as I had gotten. And then we had another prompt, and it made me think of a little bit more and a little bit more. And that was it. It was just this on and off thing until NaNoWriMo. And during that time, I got really stuck. And it wasn't even NaNoWriMo itself, the writing, like the words. Again, because we're just having fun. We're just doing writing prompts and we're doing this. But I remember my friend had a critique with some writing group, and I had seen them in my mind. They're authors. They're big time, right? And I had loved what my friend wrote. It had a lot of emotion, and they had a lot of negatives to say, and they really critiqued it in a way that it was like secondhand trauma. I was like, "Oh my god, if they feel like that, I'll never be able to." And I remember there was like days where I was just like, I'm gonna give this up. I can't do this. I can't be this." And I was going to like walk away. And I remember feeling so defeated. And I
Mm.
think that's where the therapy stuff really comes in, that wellness. And that's where I was like, you know what? Let me like go and get my head together. And I remember I took a long drive. I was like, I'm going to go to this bookstore I never went. And I listened to a podcast, and like I refound that I just love to write and to create. And I love how I feel when I write. And so let's just go back to that. And from there, I created, and then, I finished NaNoWriMo. I got the words down. And when I think about that, you create better when you're happy. You create better when you feel free. And so I think that really helped, being a therapist and knowing I don't like how I feel now, but I do like how I feel when I write.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, that's one of the questions that I had um about creative wellness and how
Mhm.
that's informed your writing. I wanna
Mhm.
I wanna ask you, what does creative wellness, what does that mean what does it actually mean to you? Like when you hear that?
Yeah. When I say creative wellness, I think, how do we help your creative goals go from stuck to started, right? It's not just a structural thing like I have imposter syndrome. Like, what is really the emotion, the wellness there, right? How do we make sure that you have sustainable routines so that way you're not just writing one book, but you're writing a multitude of books? How do we help you navigate negativity, because you're not just going to have that as a debut, but you're going to have this as you continue to grow, right? So how do we make sure that you have the pillars to be well throughout your creative career?
Yeah, and I think that speaks to something that I've been studying over the last couple of days. One day I woke up and I thought to myself, what would a system look like for my creative career?
Mhm.
And I realized that I don't think in systems very well. I'm very like all over the place, and I'm like working on this, I'm doing this.
Mhm.
But when you were talking just now, I'm like, oh, it sounds like what you're doing is creating systems for people that is sustainable, right?
Yes. Yes. So even if your system is like chaotic, that's how you work, right? Like, how do we intentionally do that? How do we be protective of that? Right?
Mm,
How do you communicate that? And like, maybe that means thinking about, you have people who are more organized to do those functions, but like if that is where your synergy is, that chaos, that's where everything falls, go to that. So like, because
mm,
otherwise you can be experiencing blocks because you're trying to put yourself too small when you need all of this room. Make sense?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
it's the idea of not necessarily trying to change somebody's process, but saying, okay, well, this is the process. How do we just keep recreating
Yeah.
these zones for you,
Mhm.
we tailor your environment to get the
Mhm.
result that you're trying to get, right? And so, um,
1000%.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's super powerful. So what is something that you as a creative wellness coach, what is one of the things that you're most proud of in your process?
Yeah. I think it is acceptance, right? I think I am at a place of accepting, like, things I do may not look like someone else, and that is okay. Like, you have some coaches or whatever, they're like, this is my 5-step plan to blah, blah, blah. I can't do that. Like, my process really is great when I get to sit and vibe and say, okay, what are you saying? What is your problem? And let's create these personalized strategies for you. And so that acceptance, because even as far as my writing, right? Like, you have people when I was starting out, again, I'm like, I just like to create. So I'm trying to be a sponge and learn everything. And I was taking it as gospel when I should have taken it as suggestions. And it was really hard for me to accept that, oh, I could write a little bit of fantasy, I could write a little bit of mystery, and I don't need 5 different pen names. I can have this under here. I can have my books and my wellness, right? Like, I can create this string of services that all fit under this umbrella. And I'm beginning to accept that, because some people are like, oh, you need to have a page for this or this or that. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can
Yeah.
do this, and just accepting that.
Yeah. So if you had to walk us through like what your process as a creative wellness coach looks like,
Mm.
what is that relationship? What does that look
Mhm.
like?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of listening, right? So I think
Mm,
sometimes from the outside, people are like, oh, I'm talking too much. I'm like, no, like, I need you to give me all that, because as you're giving me
right,
everything, I'm
right,
making connections, right?
right.
It looks like me asking you a lot of questions about, like, when do you feel most free when you create? Okay, like, you feel most free in the morning before the world is disturbed. Okay, how do we become protective of that time? How
Mm,
do we, figure out and notice when you're getting more fatigued, and how do you take care of yourself, right? So that you're not getting to the point where you feel burnt out and now you have writer's block or creative block and now you can't create. So it's really listening and noticing the patterns. So again, taking the therapeutic side and mashing it with the creative, because I feel like they go hand in hand, right? Especially for creatives. Like, if you are not well, you can't create, right? Like, it's
yeah,
not, you're not going to have that. So, like, how do we make sure that you're good so that you can continue to not only do your art, but the other things and the other ideas you want to branch off and do because of that?
yeah, yeah. So you mentioned earlier that
Hmm.
you when you was in your place of I was gonna say like stuckiness, but that's not a
Yeah,
word. But
I
when you were
like it
in when,
though.
when you were in your place, you used, your tools that, the
Hmm.
tools as a therapist to get yourself out of
Hmm.
that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is about how you do it for yourself. And
Mm.
maybe it's different. So I think about it like editing, right? Like
Mhm.
I can edit, and like if you write something, I
Mhm.
can edit what you wrote,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, cool. I can see all the places that you
Mhm.
need help with, maybe do this, maybe
Mhm.
do that, da da da, da, right?
Mhm.
But I can't necessarily do that for my stuff, right? Is
Mhm.
it like that? Or have you been able to find that the same tools and practices you're able to do that for yourself? Or do you also need a coach?
That is a great, I think I am too stubborn for a coach, because right, I'm like, "Well, I don't wanna listen," right? So I'm really grateful to have friends that hold me accountable. But, like, yeah, I for me, it is both easy and hard. I think the easy part is, like, I don't like when I feel anxious or depressed or, like, not aligned, right? Like, I don't like how that feels. And I think that's just from, being in that place for so long. I'm very familiar of, like, we're in that place again. What do we need to do? And so, like, just the repetition of having those moments and learning, like, oh, okay, this means something is off, let's explore what that is. And, like, sometimes it's by, like, talking with friends and, like, venting, sometimes it's by journaling. But I kind of operate like I cook, right? Like, oh, okay, you taste here, you need a little bit of this, you need a little bit of that. What do we need to balance everything? And that's kind of how I operate, whether it's in wellness, whether it's in writing. What do we need? What feels off here? And so, reconnecting with me. And so, whether that's I'm taking the dog for a long walk, I'm going and spending some time reading, that quiet helps me kind of figure out. And what I can't, I talk through with people.
Yes. That's so good. So let me ask you this. How do you balance, nurturing somebody's creative practice alongside of like the practical requirements, you know what I'm saying? Or
Mhm,
the not
mhm,
requirements, but the practical realities of what
mhm.
you need in order to sustain a creative career. How do you balance those two things?
Yeah, I love that, and I think I can be a really, like, solution-focused person, so I think that is really where I feel comfortable, right? So I
Mm,
like to give practical strategies, but that may look different for each and every person. So, like, if someone is struggling with, self-doubt or imposter syndrome, right? The practical strategy may be, okay, recognize when does that come up during the week?
mhm.
And when that comes up during the week, this is what you can do. You can say, how true is this thought? Is this thought, oh, like my writing sucks because it's the first draft? Okay, like that's a truth. It's going to be that way. And so sit in that place.
Right.
And so like giving that practical that works with them, whether it's writing routine, if someone's like, I'm not motivated to write, right? And we're talking about routine because that's a way to get out of it, being practical. If you have kids, a job, all of these things, writing every day may not be practical. That actually may hurt your routine. But what
Yeah.
is routine for you? Is it writing every other day? Is it committing to writing for 6 hours on the weekend? What is practical for you? And so having that conversation so that way you're getting that personalized system so that way you can be sustainable.
Yeah. One thing that I want to ask, even when you're talking through those things, how do you how do you think about discipline and accountability? Like these words are scary and intimidating to me,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, and so I think even when you're talking and you're saying, "Hey, well, let's figure out what you need," right? Let's say,
Mhm.
you have a lot going on, so let's try to
Mhm.
set everything up so that you can do it, right?
Mhm.
But then there's this element of like, but there are going to be times where you just gonna have to do it, right?
Mhm.
Or maybe not, right? How do you think
Mhm.
about like discipline and accountability and that grit that we always hear? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, maybe this is like a fairy tale answer, but, like, you're more likely to do things you enjoy and that you're having fun doing, right? And so, how do we incorporate that into the discipline, right? So, like, I get up
Mm,
at around 6 o'clock, right? That's my discipline, but I've also made it fun. Like I take it slow. I maybe don't start writing till 7, but that's why I get up at 6 so that I can get my tea, take it slow, do the treadmill, whatever. But like, right, incorporating what is that thing that's going to motivate you? Because if it's just, well, this is the work and you have to do it, well, like you go to your 9 to 5 for that, right? Like this is the place where you have to want to be there. And so finding that, and if you truly can't find that, if you truly can't find that, like, this is the thing that motivates me, that's where you may just have to commit, and the reward is, um, post, right? So maybe it's like after 7 days of getting up, you then get to do that thing that's rewarding. So versus it being on the front end, maybe it's the back end, but how do we
mm.
enforce that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And I think that um so I made a post. Well, I didn't make the post. I shared a post from a neurologist that I follow, and the headline of her post was "Discipline is overrated." And she was
Mm,
she was basically talking about, I don't remember what the exact post said, but it was basically the idea that you basically need to make things like simple and easy for you to do them to make sure that you're
mhm,
able to do them consistently. So I had a
mhm,
friend of mine, he was like, he hit me. He's like, no, we need discipline and this, that, and the third. It was all good nature. We always debating about something. But I think it's interesting, and I don't know if this might be like a man thing, right? But I grew up thinking about discipline where it's like, if it don't hurt, you ain't doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Like if
mm,
it's not
mhm.
if it's not if you want to do it, it's probably not you probably not doing it the way you're supposed to be doing it, right? And so you get this feeling of like, or like
That
lifting what.
mindset has made things, I'm telling you, it could, because the thing that comes easy, the thing that comes, that's your gift. And so if
Mm,
it has to feel hard, you will miss your gift. And that is something I'm slowly unlearning because I sometimes minimize even the wellness part because it
Yeah.
comes so natural, but it's only natural and easy because that's the thing I'm supposed to do. And
Right.
so it is, again, like there's stretching is important, right? Like you're that tells you that you're moving to that next level. You're pushing out of your comfort zone.
Right.
So it's like but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, I think what happens is that people try to do, they don't take into account what the level is, right? And
Yeah.
so for example, I was on a panel and there was a guy, he said he was working on a comic book and he said, "Man, I just cannot get it done." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" And he said, "Well, he said, man, I've marked off like 2 to 3 hours a day and I try to do it every day and I just cannot lock in." I said, "That's your problem." I said, "Do 7 minutes. Just do 7 minutes a day.
Yes.
Start with 7 minutes. You trying to do 2 to 3 hours, but you haven't built the muscle to do 2 to 3 hours." And so now,
1000%.
yeah, go
Yes.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, like, but like it absolutely like we want to go from like zero to everything. And like we don't think about that when like we go to the gym. Like we know, like, oh, I got to do a little bit and build up my stamina. But with everything else, we're like, oh, it has to be just all or nothing. That's not how you sustain at all.
At all, at all. And I told and he was like, "Oh, I can just do, I don't have to do 2. I can do 7 minutes." I'm like, "Bro, do 1 sentence a day." Like you got to start somewhere. And I
Mhm.
think we don't take into account, we hear about the Stephen Kings and we hear
Yes.
about these great writers who say,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I lock myself in a room for 5 hours." But they've been doing this for years. And so they've
And
built
that
a
is also
certain,
their only job now, okay? Like, that is
that
it.
too. That too. There's
And
so
they're getting
many.
paid a lot of money to do that. Now, if you're paying me that type of money, I'm sitting there for 5 hours. That's very motivating for me.
Right, right. There's so many variables, there's so many factors that goes into somebody being able to sit in a room for 5 hours and write.
1000%.
And it can be soul crushing too if you don't realize that and you try to do that and then you don't do it and it's like, "Oh, well, maybe I'm not a real, maybe I'm not, maybe I shouldn't be." It's like, no. You just try to do too much. You know what I'm saying?
1000%. And I think, especially when you're first starting, being careful of what is reinforcing those negative thoughts. Because every time you set a goal and you don't complete it, it can make you feel like, man, I'm not a real creative. I'm not a real this. And that's not the truth. Like you just haven't found your process. And you're not going to know that until you start and fail and tweak and all of those things. So
Yes.
be gentle with yourself.
Be gentle with yourself. And again, this is coming from somebody who I had to I'm still not very gentle with myself. Like I have to learn how to be, because I'm telling myself like, "Hey, we gotta go hard. We gotta get it done. So we gotta do this." And it's like, but I wasn't productive when I was like forcing myself to do stuff that I was not really ready to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a time and a place for that, like,
Right.
transparency, like, around, last year, I had to have, like, that hard talk because I would be so scared and so anxious when I wanted to try something or putting my work out there, and I just had to say, like, "How long are we gonna do this? Like, how long?" It's slowing your creativity, it's doing all these and, like, having that, and so it's a balance of, like, "Okay, you were gentle, and now we gotta be firm," and so, like, finding that balance and being honest with yourself. And like if you can't do that for you, you're not going to make it, whether it's in creativity or not. But like being honest with yourself, and that's where that true accountability and that discipline is going to come in.
Absolutely. And I also think too is having that awareness, going back to the idea of like
Mm-hmm.
knowing what level you're on,
Mm-hmm.
um, knowing that I was in a screenwriting, course, and I'm going through the course and I'm writing, I'm doing my thing, and one day my screenwriting teacher just said, "Hey, like your writing is good. We probably should start, you know, you don't need to keep learning the same stuff you've been learning. Like you know how to do certain things, so you probably need to."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool." But again, it's the understanding what level you're on. Once you get to a certain level, then you can talk to yourself a certain way. You can say, "Hey,
Yes.
you know how to do this. You know what I'm saying? It's time for us to, you know."
Yes.
So I think that's a part of it as well. Um,
Absolutely.
oh,
Like it,
but
and like on that, like we start off sometimes being so hard on ourselves when that's the point, right? Like you wouldn't do that to a seed that's sprouting. You wouldn't just pour all this water. Like you would just pour a little bit until it's strong enough to handle all of that. And I think that's where we got it flipped, right? We start sometimes so hard when it should go from gentle to hard.
Yes, yes. So now
Yes.
I want to talk about your books. I want to talk
Yes.
about your books. So you've written 3 or 4 books?
Oh my gosh, I think it may be 7.
7?
I think so. I try not to think about it, but like we have the 3 main ones in the prophecy series. We have the 2 side stories within that series. We have the 2 books in Lyra, and then I just released 1 short story, but there's 2 others. So 10. There'll be 10
Okay.
by March.
Okay. So you count your short stories as books as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Wow. So I'm impressed. I'm
Yay.
flabbergasted. I'm like, you've been doing it. I've been working on my first novel for like since COVID. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
like, man, that is incredible. What how have you managed to be so prolific?
Oh, yay. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I think a couple of things. So, one, I do think it is that discipline, but that discipline only came because I really love to write. I
Mm,
love my stories. I love to create. I love how I feel when I'm in that space, how it feels right. And so, um, I want, and on top of that, the readers, right? The readers
mm,
saying, "Oh, when is the next Lyra book going to come out? Oh, what's going to happen?" Right? Like seeing that helps me, right, to build that community, right? And so um I th- and just the stories keep coming, right? And so I'm like, oh, I got to get them down. I
mm.
got to challenge this again, this imposter syndrome or whatever's slowing. I got to get up at 6 so I can write and finish this because I was setting pre-orders. I hadn't written a word, but I was setting pre-orders. Now I had to write because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know I'm a procrastinator and like I gotta have a deadline. So this year I'm doing things a little differently and not setting any pre-orders. And because I have that discipline, right? We talked about those levels. Now I'm committing to writing so that I can market and do this better and it be sustainable. But in
yeah,
the beginning, it was just the fun of it was reinforcing. So I kept going and the
yeah,
characters kept showing up.
yeah, yeah. Flex on them. So,
Mhm.
do you find yourself drawn to a certain theme or a certain through line
Mhm.
throughout your stories? Like, what kind of stories um are you drawn to? If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think the thing that is common are people, right? The characters come first, and as I'm like the
I'm sorry.
therapy never leaves. The therapy never leaves. Like I can't.
Yeah.
So them, right? Whether it's like this woman who's anxious about being the chosen one and feeling like she's really small, or
Mm,
this mom who's a warrior and just wants her family, or this woman who has dreams and thinks she's crazy and all of that. And so, um, people right now there tends to be like a mental health kind of theme, but there's other stories where I'm like, oh, this is just about a character. I don't see the mental health. And so
mm.
I think ADHD, you like just whatever comes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how do you balance the character piece as well as like the magic and the action? Because I haven't finished reading your book, but I started reading your book and I'm like, yo, this is, it's got the action, it's got the fighting, it's got, so
Let's go.
what's the balance? Like how do you find yourself balancing those two aspects of your stories?
Probably not a great answer, like, but I don't think that hard about it. Like, I truly try not to think hard about it. Like, literally, like, okay, like what would this character do? Right? Like, what would this woman who's a warrior and who stands in her business and strength say when her husband tells her he's going through this portal because I gotta find like what is she gonna do? Right. And so like I just take it there and like what's next? Like going back to that cooking, like what does it feel like this needs next? And like in the beginning, that was really hard because I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And people were saying to plot and to follow this thing. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Every time it slowed me and it made me feel worse. So I was like, I'm just gonna say what's in my head and what I see in my brain. I'm gonna put it down.
Yeah.
And that's how I balance all that. And then when I edit, I'm like, oh, it feels like this is missing and that's missing. And then the art team has been really helpful
Yeah.
because when I'm like, this is done, and I send it to them and I take any little feedback they have and then I strengthen it on the last read through and then I put it out. But like, take the pressure off and just like, what do you see? What's next? And put it down.
So, side note question.
Hmm.
I'm glad you brought up your ARC readers
Hmm.
because are you do you use beta readers
No.
or the ARC readers are like your beta readers? No. Okay.
Um, no, no, I won't say they're like beta readers because like I know people are like, "Oh, I'm going to send these 5 chapters and see what they say." No, like I'm going to tell this story the way that it needs to be told. And if there's something glaring when I send it out for those reviews and things, I will take it under consideration. So like Sleeping Beauty, that's book 1 in the Lyra Sommers mystery, right? The first time I was writing a mystery and it was the first time I did an advanced reader team and they were loving the story, loving the character. But some of the critique was they thought she was too mean, too hard. And um, that didn't resonate with me. I'm like, I stand by who she is. Now it's my job to demonstrate to you why she needs to be that way. So as I'm going through, I'm looking and making sure that I did that. I did my role as the author. I think no shade to anyone who uses beta readers and all that. I think sometimes people listen too much to them and they lose their story. At the end of the day, you are the CEO, you are the director, you're the lead here, and like take their feedback. But like Febreze, all these companies, they're not just changing everything because people don't like it. They're saying, okay, I'm going to use this as information to make my decision. Like let them inform versus steer your story.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think I asked that question. So me and my writers group, we've been having this conversation. I think people confuse and mix up beta readers, ARC readers, and
Mhm.
editors. And so
Mhm.
you have people who are like saying they're beta readers and they're doing like or they might be asked to do the job of what an editor
Mhm.
does, or they think they're supposed to be doing the job of what an editor does.
Mhm.
Then you got ARC readers. So in my mind, you got like beta readers who are like reading like early drafts and they're
Yep.
like, this is how it's coming off, whatever. You take that and
Mhm.
you do what you will with it. By the
Exactly.
time you get with an ARC reader, in my mind, the ARC reader is just reading what you've done and they
Right.
say, I either like it or I don't like it. But at
Right.
that
That's
point,
like
it's
your
like,
review, your promo. Yeah.
right. And then obviously the editor is like the person that
Mhm.
is, actually giving you, in my mind at least, going to give you advice or suggestions
Mhm.
that you're probably more often than not going to take, or you're going to at least try to figure out how to address whatever that, you know what I'm saying?
One 1000%. Now, I will when I get to the point where I'm sending it to the editor, I send it to the ARC reader. So that way, when I get the feedback from
Yeah.
the editor, I also have the feedback from the ARC readers. And so I can decide, okay, what am I sitting with? I now have all this information and can decide what I'm going to do.
See that? So I would call those beta readers. I wouldn't call those ARC readers
Really?
because I would say an ARC reader is like when you go on like NetGalley and you
Yeah.
get it's like the book is finished. If you once you get
Well,
an ARC.
so sometimes on that galley, I will get it when it's still in editing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the only reason. I was like, "Oh," like, cause like, I'm like, "Oh, I like this."
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
"Imma steal this idea from the publishers."
Yeah.
I'm like, cause like, now, cause I'm like so I'll get it to the point where it's like, I'm not changing anything structurally, like, it
Right,
is like, I just need the grammar and all of that done, right? Like, I'm not doing anything developmental, so,
right.
like, and also, like, last minute, I'm a procrastinator, so now I needed to go out to y'all because this is coming out in, like, a couple weeks, so I need the reviews and I need this
We already
done.
got the pre-orders out. We gotta hurry up.
Right, right, so, like,
The
we
show don't
gotta
stop.
right, so unless you're just like, there's, like, a chapter missing, nothing's changing here, but so I guess maybe they're like beta readers, but like I'm really sending it to you just to get the reviews.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, so what do you think? What's the hardest part of the novel writing process for you?
Ugh, I hate the first draft. I hate sitting down to. I hate it. I do.
Really?
I'll edit for day. Oh, I love to edit and to layer and like, but I hate the first draft. I
Mm.
really, that's where I really have to be disciplined and be like, okay, no, we're getting up. This is what we're doing. Let's do like 5 minute sprint here, a 10 minute sprint here. But I hate the first draft because um I'm not a plotter. I'm just like, again, like, okay, what do we see here? And like with my
Oh yeah.
fantasy, it never wants to come in order. I'll do the end. There's the middle, there's this, there's that, there's all these scenes. But I hate the first draft.
See, now this is where we're opposites because I love the first draft. I
Oh,
love it because at that point it's like anything is possible. Like I'm just here putting words down. Like I love it here.
and do you plot? Do you like what is that like for you?
So I would say I'm a little bit of a hybrid. So
Okay.
I do some outlining, but there's a lot of space open for like me to find things, you know.
Mm.
Um but I want to be more of an outliner though because part of the reason why it's taking me so long on this novel is because I did no outlining, I did no planning. I just sat down and wrote. And it's been, it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild, wild ride. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, so revision is difficult for me because I realize once I write a sentence, that's the sentence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Mm.
don't really want to change. Like, what I wrote is what I wrote, and I ain't really trying to change it. So I have to, I have to go through like a lot of like, all right, bro, like you got to change. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really want to change it. I wrote it already. So that's why
No, like,
I don't really like it. But I'm starting to find some love for it. I'm finding,
yeah.
finding my groove. Oh, and the other reason why I don't like revising is because I don't always know where to start. And maybe this is
Mm.
connected to what I wrote before, but it's like I wrote it there and I like it.
Mhm.
So how do I know what to change if I already like what I put? Anyway, it's just
And that means
it's
you're done. That means you're done. That means
no,
you're done.
but I also know it's not done. That's the thing. Like I also like I know like I like it, and I also know this makes no sense right here. It's a crazy space to be in. It's a crazy space
Okay,
to be
I
in.
can't wait till you get done with like the revision and then like you're like, okay, this is what my process is going to be. Like that's going to be fun.
Oh yeah. You know what? This right here. This is the first draft of the novel that I wrote like 3 years ago. This is the
How
whole
did
thing
you
right
like
here.
printing it out? I did that one time and I don't even know where that paper is.
Yeah. So that's actually what helped me to break
Really? Okay.
through like, oh, I wrote this and oh, I can change it. So when I was trying to do it on the computer, it was like I
Mhm.
was too like connected to it. Once
Okay.
I printed it out and I took like 2 to 3 weeks away from it, I printed
Yeah.
out. Then it like looking at it then was like, oh, this is somebody else. You know what I'm saying? This is not even me. You know what I mean? So that helped me break through the idea of like, well, you
I
wrote it,
love
but you
it.
can change it. You can shift some things around. So I had to play some mind games on myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Um,
think you know what, Kindle Vella, like that was the serialized reading. I think that helped because we can change things. And I was like, oh, I could go back and
oh,
change
can
things.
you?
Yeah, at the time, right, when they had it, like, you
I
can
didn't know
change.
that.
Yeah, and so then when it came to, like, KDP, I'm like, "Oh, I could change the draft, so, like, if I have a typo, I could change it." So, so I was able to be like, "Oh, I could change this." But, like, I think that's a big part of the creative process is knowing, like, you can change this up to a point, especially when you're doing indie, like, you have some freedom and some control because the pressure of the finality, like, yeah, it's like, can I change this?" But yeah.
Yeah, I don't like changing it. That's the problem. I don't want to change it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I wrote it there for a reason. Like it's good. It's like, nah, it's not good. This don't make sense. Anyway, Do you have any like rituals or like routines, like non-negotiable things that you do that's like, I'm in the zone. Like
I think
I know
sometimes
you probably light a candle. I know you light a candle.
you know what? Sometimes, like when I really need to, like, okay, it's been like 3 weeks. We got to get in. Like, we
Yeah.
got candle, we got tea, we got the music going. Like the dog has been walked. He has his little treat. But like on the daily, it really is like I can't write in the afternoon. Anytime I've said I'm gonna write, like it's a lie. Like it's not at the end of the day, I'm done. I'm now editing, I can do it anytime, like that, whatever. But like writing, for me to get the best words, I'm up at 6:30, 7, and I'm writing. Yeah. I have
Listen,
my tea and like that's it.
there is nothing like an early morning writing session.
Come on.
What?
Oh,
What? Start
yeah.
your day off with that? I got up the other day at like 4 or 5. Had like
Oh,
a good 2 to 3 hours. Oh,
yes.
what a
Yeah.
day. What
Yeah.
a day.
Right, and it's done. It's done, right? And, like, at that early time, like, sometimes it takes a couple of, like, start and stops before you get into the groove, but, like, by the time you're there, the words are done, and then I have a better day 'cause I showed up for me first before I showed up for someone else.
Let me hit you with this quick side note though.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
I got up at 4 o'clock, right?
mhm.
I wrote till about 7 or 8.
Yep,
Oh, felt great. I'm like, what a day, right?
yep.
I get a call and they
Mm.
say, yo, I got tickets. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I got tickets to the Hawks game. I can't go. You want these tickets? What? Of course I want these tickets. But it's MLK Day. So that
Mhm.
means, oh, I don't know how much you know about basketball, but MLK Day, they do like the whole lineup all day on TV where they
Oh,
play from like 1 to like 8. The last game is like 8 o'clock at night. Well, the
okay,
Hawks had the 1 o'clock game. So I'm
okay.
thinking I'm going to the 7 o'clock game, but it was 1 in the afternoon. What? So I go to the game and then I get home like 3 or 4 months ago. Do you know who Leslie Penelope is? The author?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Great fantasy author. I'm gonna have to put you on. Great
Please.
fantasy author. But I heard about a writing retreat that she's doing called Ink and Magic. And I
Oh,
applied
that
to it.
sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, I applied to it like 3 or 4 months ago. I totally forgot about it. I get an email saying I got accepted. What a day, right? Oh my goodness.
Yes!
I got to get up early every day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That is a great motivator because it's like, right? Like, you listen. Oh,
you
that's
never
a
know
good
what could
day.
happen. You never know what could. It was a great day.
Listen, my mother always says, "It only takes one day for your life to change. It only takes" so keep
Listen,
going. It only takes one day.
listen. I was telling somebody too. I'm like, it's not very often that like I, go to sleep and I think to myself, this was a great day. But that day, I'm like, today was a great day. Like people was like, how you doing today? I'm like, you know what?
Great.
I'm glad you asked. Today
I
was
love that
great.
for you. I love that for you. That is amazing.
Oh man, okay. So that was my little sidebar.
I love it. Are we gonna hear more about, like, like, his journey on this writing retreat? Like, are we
Oh,
gonna,
for sure.
like oh, love it. Okay.
It's not till May. It's not till May. So I got a little time before, but I'm definitely gonna be, filling
Oh,
people in.
good,
And
good.
Leslie Penelope is so good. Like I gotta put you on her. You probably heard
Please.
of her because she calls herself Leslie Penelope, but the author name is like L Penelope, I think.
I gotta see
Uh,
a cover. I gotta
yeah,
see a
yeah,
cover, and then
yeah.
I'll be like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I have it upstairs. I'm gonna
Okay.
put you on when we
Please."
offline. I have a couple of more questions, and then we
Yes,
gonna get
yes.
out of here. Um, what do you hope? And this is connected to like the theme or the through line
Mhm.
question. But what do you hope that readers take away from the fiction, from your work,
Mm.
beyond just like the story itself? And to be fair, a perfectly acceptable answer is I just want them to have a good story. But what do you hope they take away from it?
Yeah. When I think of Tabitha's journey in the Prophecy series, my hope is always that people realize you don't have to be brave to have a big destiny. Like, it really is a story about a woman feeling so small, so anxious, and still doing what she's called to do, right? We see all these great people. You have to be so strong to do your destiny. But like, I often don't feel that way, right? I often feel very intimidated and overwhelmed, and I can still go and do great things. And I wanted that to be her story. And I think I stayed true to that. When people are picking up Sleeping Beauty and they're looking at Lyra, I want you to know that there's so many people in my life who are so prickly. You've got to take some time to get through the hard shell because they've been through so much and they have this hard exterior. Whether you are that person with that hard exterior or you have someone like that in your life, be patient with people, to be gentle with them because that is just a way of keeping you away. And so I hope with each of the characters, there's something about yourself or about others that you're able to have some empathy about.
Wow, that's great.
Thank you.
I'm like tearing up over here. I'm like, man,
Yay!
this is great stuff.
Yay.
So that was my last question about your books.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching, if you're listening to this, please go check out Liz's books. I mean, I'm sure you can hear the passion and the just the care and the thought that she puts into these characters. It's just great work. So definitely go check it out. Her link is in was it LizBullardWrites.com, I believe. It's in the description or the show notes of this video. So definitely check out her work. Buy some books. Buy all the books, all 10 books. You feel me? But before we get out of here, I have one last segment that I like to do. It's called The One. These are what do they call this? Like quick hitter question. I'm blanking on the name.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Yes. Rapid fire. So here's the first one. What is one book that you think everyone should read?
Oh man, one. Okay. The Personal Librarian. It's by Victoria Christopher Murray and Marie Benedict, and it's a historical fiction, and it's one of my favorite books that I always go to. I think that one, again, it's about a woman who's passing and just the history of that, and it was really good.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Keep going. Keep going. It gets better. Keep going. Dream bigger. Keep going and dream bigger.
That's two, but I'm gonna let you slide.
Thank you.
What's one word that you would want to describe your legacy?
Oh, resilient.
Okay. What is one thing that you would change about your creative journey?
More money.
Talk to them.
Right?
Talk to them. More money. What's one thing that you want everyone to take away? Yeah. That you want everyone to take away from that's listening or hearing this? What's one thing you want them to take away from this interview, this conversation?
Yeah. Whether I'm talking to therapy clients, whether it's with the books, whether it's creative wellness, get to know you. If you can figure out when you are your best self, you are unstoppable. Whether that's in your day job, your creative passions, get to know you, the real you, how you work, get to know you.
That is so good. Before we get out of here, Liz, do you want to plug anything? Do you want to say anything? The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I love the space that you create for creatives and how, you uplift and support us. Y'all, thank you for listening. My name is Liz. You can find me, Liz Bullard Writes. I'm an author, therapist, and creative wellness coach. So, pick up the books. If you need support on your creative journey, look at any of the coaching packages and let's connect. And I have a free 15-minute consultation. So again, send me a message and, let's connect.
Yes. Thank you so much, Liz, for being here. Y'all definitely check out her work. if you're watching this right now, definitely like this video, subscribe, share this with somebody if you enjoyed the conversation. Liz, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I just want to say I came across you. It was an ad. It was like a sponsored post. And now I'm blanking on what the video was. But I was
probably was if my videos could talk. What would
yes. If your books could talk. Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, this is so clever." And I sent it to my writing group and I said, "Yo, y'all got to see what she's doing. This is amazing." And
it was like my first ad I was intentional about too.
It was so great. And so then I started following you, and I just want to say, like, I just appreciate, the energy and the joy and the passion and the thought that you bring to the creative community, to your work, to your books. And I was on her show on Monday, and it's just been a joy talking to you and listening to you, and I just really appreciate what you're doing for the community, what you do for creatives. And I just, wish nothing but success and the best for you. You know what I'm saying? So awesome. With that being said, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all for listening and watching, and we will see y'all soon. Love.
Bye.